a monster. I hate what I've become. The nightmare's just begun. I must confess that I feel like a monster. I feel it deep within. It's just beneath the skin. I must confess that I feel like a monster. I feel like a monster. I feel like a monster.
I look at that and I go, I made that 2.5 years ago. Why do I still use it? So, hi everyone. How's everybody doing? So, we are here to apparently do the science of RWBY's weapons and the physics behind them, and explain to you whether or not they can actually exist. Because I do science once a week, and this got brought up as a question. 42 hours of my life later, and a 43-page scientific paper, and I'm standing in front of you with a 2-page version and a panel. So, who is this person? Hi, I'm Fiaura. Hi. I'm also, those are the 3 things that come up on Google most commonly for some reason, and the one on the right just got handed to me in July. When I say handed to me, my subscribers walked up to me and said, "This is yours now." And I'm like, what? I have been a scientist in the field of human sexuality and communications for 7 years. I have a master's degree at Rutgers. I have a bachelor's from the University of Delaware, and I have an associate's in biology. In addition to this, I have taken additional postgraduate studies in rocket science, calculus, geometry, mechanical engineering, and aerospace industry design. Woo. I can build a rocket. And that is all for this YouTube channel, and that was $20,000 well spent. It helps when you're supposed to become a professor and then you go, nope, I'm out. But that is my entire background in my field of engineering, and prepare for science. If you have not caught yourself up to RWBY, I might spoil things for you, and I am sorry, not really, but I'm going to do it anyway, so next slide. So, can this exist? Clip 1. I'm now going to explain this panel to you guys. I want to know, can we actually build stuff like this? Those aren't shotgun shells, fair warning. Now I can talk. So that is some pretty extreme violence when you really think about it. And I don't know how he got in here. Oh, right, now. So can swords cut metal? I don't know. Let's find out. They actually built her weapon, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Hi, waifu. How are you? So that's actually a lot longer than what I had originally planned for, and I didn't realize that Premiere Pro didn't work its magic and make that shorter. But we're here to look at the recoil, damage, and how they could be used. Could an actual human being wield these weapons, or are they just completely insane? Are the weapons we talk about used in a style that would fit their construction? That means, are they used in an actual fighting style and martial arts style that fits their construction, or are they used in complete fantasy and absolute, oh my god, why did you do that? Lastly, could you build one of these and be a real huntress, or are we just sniffing dust? So we have clip 2, RWBY's Crescent Rose. So first off, she's using that to slow down. Gravity is an unforgiving mistress. It's also the most common thing that kills me in live streams. That one I figured out you can actually do. But then there's this. Those are bullets. 50 caliber bullets do not inflict that much damage. Nor do they have this kind of recoil. Yeah, that kind of recoil is not from a 50, I'm sorry. I've seen a 50 fired, I've seen what it can do. That's not how a 50 works. So, here's my question. What is it really? So, RWBY is 1.57 meters tall. She weighs 71 kilograms. That's direct from the wiki that they posted from Rooster Teeth themselves. On screen, using frame-by-frame measurement, which I will not bore you guys with because that's a 17-minute video to watch one frame at a time. She is traveling at 33 meters a second. For those who don't know, 33 times 60 times 60 is how you get kilometers, which is in the neighborhood of somewhere around 190. That would require a total force of 2,343 newtons, or roughly the punches of Mike Tyson. But there's one problem. The size of the impact is a 50 caliber bullet, which means it should pierce her body, and it doesn't. Which means we have to factor in the size of the impact and figure out the impact to size ratio of her versus the bullet, and therefore how much force is actually being delivered by the recoil to propel her at 33 meters a second. That force is on the screen. There is the simplified mathematical equation of a 30 millimeter cannon. Because that is the closest amount of force, because if we go up to 50 millimeters, we're at 200,000 newtons. If we're at 30 millimeters, we're at 115,000. So she's somewhere between 30 and 33 millimeter cannon for recoil at 123,315 newtons. The exact same force if two cars net have 121 kilometers between them and smash into each other head on. That is the same force as what your head experiences when it slams into the airbag.
Oh, wow.
Well.
So, can this be a real weapon? No. A human being can only withstand 4,000 newtons maximum to the shoulder. That's a fully built bodybuilder. A person the size of RWBY is estimated between 1,500 and 1,800 newtons to dislocate the shoulder. We're well over 1,800. Furthermore, such a weapon, as compact as it gets, could actually exist mechanically. But it would be really fat. By that I mean that when you look at the weapon from a side profile, yes, it's small, it's only about the size of her arm. But when you looked at it from the other way, it would be as the size of her arm. It would be a box, her arm length and her arm wide. Which means that, yeah, you could have it and you couldn't use it unless you mounted it to a building. So, we have clip number 3 for this to show you guys how I came up with it actually being a 30 millimeter. I believe this is a clip. So she's moving at 33 meters a second. That was 3 frames of animation. The video is playing at 60 frames a second. That usually requires a force close to 5,000 newtons to decapitate a wolf. Can we dim the lights over there? Is that a thing? I know I'm picky. Also dead. Just dead. Straight up dead. That was a Mack truck. I actually did the math on that. That is the force of a Mack truck hitting you at 40 kilometers an hour. This is completely absurd.
Of course you would come up with this idea. Think you can make the shot? Can I? Can't? Of course I can.
Yes, I know. We all love the big combat calls of this is a team meeting. This, however, is how I figured out how fast she's moving. To move that quickly, she is having to fire the gun to continue to get it to propel her. She is moving in that frame between 16 and 52 meters a second. 52 initially, and then slowing down to 16 at the end before she gets to the top of the cliff. The average speed she is traveling frame by frame, which by the way is really hard to do when she keeps traveling different speeds, is 33 meters per second, because the only reason I could figure that out is I had to take it in 5-second chunks and average them out together.
Oh, Lord.
And when you're playing 60 frames a second at 5 seconds, that's 3 minutes of your life every time you take a chunk. Plus Premiere Pro rendering it takes like an hour, because it's like, you want me to play this at what speed? 0.16 times normal speed? So, her movement indicates that that's much force is being applied. What you see on the screen there is a picture of what it looks like when a person's hit by a .30 caliber bullet. That is a human being and what happens to them. It is almost the exact same damage for damage by what happens to those wolves when she shoots them. Whereas a 50 cal will basically cause you to lose a body part, a 30 millimeter will cause you to explode. Which brings me to her bullets. If we apply 123,000 newtons of force to a 30 millimeter round that weighs 0.387, or dyslexia, how are you today? 0.378 kilograms, the bullet leaves with a speed of 300,000 meters a second. Or roughly 951 times the speed of sound, or 0.1% the speed of light. So can this weapon exist? No. And if it does, and that bullet flies within, get this one, if that bullet comes within a kilometer of you, the sonic boom from 951 times the speed of sound will liquefy your organs. So, now we have Blake's Gambit Shroud. I put these in opposite order because I wanted to put the two weapons that don't work first. Ballistic chain style scythe is the closest thing we have, which is basically a chain scythe with a gun on it. Except for it also serves as a katana and a cleaver, which doesn't work in Metal Gear at all. The sword would fragment and fall apart after several uses because you would have too much moving parts for a sword.
Thank you. Sorry, I've been debating this with a friend for literal years. The Gambol Shroud would not work.
You can tell them I had 2 semesters in Metal Gear. There is only one material that can withstand that kind of force. Graphene, which is made of carbon. Which, for it to withstand that kind of force, you're talking $1 million of graphene. 1.7 million to be exact. She is moving with a centrifugal force to fly at such a speed that she actually catches the ground on fire. Concrete burns at 1700 degrees. To achieve that speed with friction alone would require you to be moving at 1900 kilometers an hour and dragging your feet.
And losing your feet.
Furthermore, the estimated frame-by-frame measurement, they're only doing 173 kilometers an hour. So either Yang literally just randomly catches on fire, or something fishy's going on here. Now this is when I begin to say her weapon can't exist. She's using it as a cleaver right now, and then she changes it to a katana. Wait. And she's blocking bullets. Swords don't block bullets, by the way. They actually break. Her sword strikes are moving 16 times faster than the fastest ever recorded samurai master. That, while amazing, I have no idea how you would be able to time that. And also, if your submachine gun has that kind of recoil, it's not a submachine gun anymore. It's a, what's what I'm looking for here? Giant sniper rifle. There we go. So, no. The Gambit Shroud can't exist under any circumstances. There's too many forces at work here, there's too much mechanical engineering that would have to go into it, and there's too many potential failing parts. If any of those parts, the Banshee's throwing, the differences between cleaver mode, scythe mode, and pistol mode, if any of that malfunctioned or failed, the entire weapon is useless. Blake's weapon is pure fiction. There's no way it can exist, there's no way it can function. But now let's get into the ones that actually work. Hi, Weiss's Rapier. This is a special clip. Because guess what? Somebody built it. Well, no, special clip. Should say special. So, this is by the Reforged Masters on YouTube. They actually made this, and it works. By the way, great cosplay. It actually works as a hybrid between a rapier and a longsword. It is too thick to be a rapier and too thin to be a longsword. I forget the name of that. I couldn't actually find the name of it because nobody seems to have ever used one. But furthermore, they also integrated directly the rifling so they could actually fire stuff out of it as a revolver chamber and even reload it. It works, it functions, and is completely usable.
Whoa.
So, can you make such precise cuts with that? Well, they just did. There's actually points when they're demonstrating how precise it is that they actually have lines that they cut across on wood over and over again and get the cut precisely right every time. So yes, clip 6, you can do this. It's entirely possible, assuming you can move 18 meters a second. Which is... I like how she just dances when she's doing it too. Like, this is a ballet. This isn't like murderation or anything. So the question becomes, can you throw a sword that fast? Can you move that quickly? And can you actually attack that quickly? Answers to this question: yes, you can throw a sword that fast, if you're Hulk Hogan. Can you actually physically, as a human being, strike that quickly? Nope. Yes. A rapier can strike up to 116 times a minute. So you can strike that quickly. However, you can't move as a human being at 18 meters a second. I'm sorry. You could potentially move that fast in short, and when I say short, I mean from like me to the man in the nice leather jacket here, bursts. But you're not going to move from me to the back of the room and back in those kind of bursts. You will slow down significantly between here and there to a reasonable speed. Next up. And this is also where I was able to determine just how much potential energy was in each of her dust crystals. Was this scene. Yeah, I use a lot of the same clips because they're more useful that way. There's a lot of data I can gather from this. This is the 60 frames per second version. So, how much potential energy does it take to overcome gravity and hurl a 70 kilogram girl at Mach 1? Let's find out how much potential energy that is because it's right there on the slide because I conveniently put it there instead of in my notes. 250,000 newtons of potential force in each and every single dust crystal. That is the equivalent of a bundle that is 10 sticks of dynamite. Per crystal, the size of your thumb. And they have that much force in any one of them. Or, you know, as it says up there, a quarter ton of TNT. Because, you know, we really want that much explosive in something that I can hold in my hand. It seems like a good idea. Let's sell this in stores. This seems like an awesome idea. Wait a minute. So, the other weapon that works is Yang's Ember Celica. These are not shotgun shells. Just no. In every single scene, they behave the same. They curve, they arc, and they explode, and they are always a solid chunk. Shotgun shells are buckshot usually, unless you're firing slugs. To pull that off, they're rockets. Which is also why, as it plays, I noticed that they were rockets, because as they leave her gauntlets, they're traveling slower than when they arrive at their target. They're accelerating the whole time. Can we build it? Yes, we tried that. We actually have a little gun called the gyrojet that we tried because we wanted the space guns, because we wanted astronauts to have guns for some reason. So here's the problem with the gyrojet. I could shoot at the cameraman and it wouldn't have achieved lethal velocity yet, even if I hit him in the eye. But if you take Yang's example and make it a 12-gauge shotgun barrel and then load it with explosives, you get miniature grenades. So now I have to determine how hard Yang punches things. So based upon the data they give me for how much that bear weighs, I had to figure out about how strong a grizzly bear was and how much force it would be required to jerk its head around like that. Also, I wasn't aware Yang had this much agility until like 3 weeks ago. So, those are light punches. We're gonna get into the heavier things. A lot heavier. This is the medium punch, which is enough for the guy inside the mech to feel it. I would like to thank Death Battle for helping me figure this one out.
With each hit, she gets stronger, and she uses that energy to fight back. That's what makes her special.
So, who wants to know how hard this is? Ow. So I'll give you a hint. If that hits you, it liquefied your insides and shattered all your ribs. But Yang hits between 3,150 newtons of force to turn a full-size adult grizzly bear's head in a snapshot, to upwards of 192,000 newtons of force to break a mech's arm. A professional boxer only hits with 2,500 newtons on a haymaker. Could you physically achieve that? No. The gauntlets would augment you. Yes, you could hit between 3,000 and 5,000 newtons of force. However, there is no way in anything I know of that a physical animal could strike with that much force. A blue whale's tail striking a ship only hits with 180,000 newtons. Wow. She is hitting you harder than the largest creature on our planet. Lastly, how much force is being applied from the recoil to propel her? Give me clip 10. Thank you, game. You're made of awesome. Literally just showed up to the convention like an hour ago. So, I had to figure out how much force was being applied to her, and therefore how much she was applying back when she fires off her gauntlets. That was hard. I had to assume that something of sound could be propelled at the speed of sound and not kill you. Furthermore, her rocket gauntlets have to output a recoil of 71,000 newtons to physically move her at the speed of 20 meters a second against the current of something that is semi-solid, i.e. water, moving at the speed of sound. Yang, I hate to break it to you, you did. That is a combined net forces, by the way, of 110,000 newtons, or roughly the equivalent force of being hit by a diesel locomotive traveling 50 miles an hour. To illustrate that to you guys, diesel locomotives hit your car and they don't bother to call an ambulance. They just assume you're dead. So now we're going to have a little fun, because I have all these numbers on a sheet. And therefore, we're going to have a little fun with Nora's Magnaland. So having seen all of this, heard all of this, and understanding most of it, I hope. How hard is she hitting this guy in the nuts? What level of pain was that? And how hard is that?
This is it, guys. Let's finish them with team attacks. Ren, Nora, flower power.
Wait, what?
We're gonna have a team meeting right now in the middle of this combat. I hope you don't mind. So, I have a question for you guys. I want somebody to try to answer this. How hard did she just hit him? So, hold on. Raise your hand if you think it's 10,000 newtons. Raise your hand if you think it's 15. 20. 50. 200,000. The equivalent force of the Hiroshima bomb. Raise your hand. Okay, all of you raise your hand, you're wrong. It is actually 210,000 newtons of force. She hits with the force of a bundle of dynamite to your face, or in this case, to your nuts. And the way I had to calculate that was a couple of things. First off, I had to figure out his mass compared to Nora's. So I'd like to teach you guys how to do this yourself. So what that means is I had to figure out how tall he was compared to Nora and how wide he was, and then look at Nora's stats on the website to determine what her size is compared to his, and then used her size to determine he was 71% the size of Nora. At which point I now know his mass, volume, and height. And then I had to figure out how hard you have to hit a boulder of that size to shatter it. And then account for drag along the ground and the velocity he was moving. That is way too much science for simply wanting a nut joke. So, could you build a weapon that could do this? Under a 0% wind condition, yes. If there is no wind in the air, that will fly just like that. From a standard 40mm grenade launcher, if it fired all of its grenades simultaneously. And you had it angled correctly, and you had smoke traveling between your grenades, which means your grenades aren't as effective, but that's beside the point. Could her weapon transform into something of that size with the barrel and everything? Assuming that the handle is actually the barrel, yes. Mechanically, it can be built. However, I'm just going to point out that your hand is now wrapped around a grenade launcher barrel that's just been fired. Welcome to second-degree burns. I hope you like your steak. The force upon impact of this next clip is what I want you guys to figure out. There should be one more there. Unless I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Am I wrong? There is not. Oh, my bad. So there is actually a scene. Apparently I'm wrong and I'm horrible and you guys can all laugh at me. There's a scene in which, there's supposed to be a clip 13. Apparently that got removed for some reason beyond my knowledge. I don't know. I'm looking at Bob and then I'm looking at myself and I'm looking around and going, what did I do last night? But effectively the hammer hits them and then propels them into the mechanical force field wall of, oh my god, how are you still alive? For that to happen, they would have to literally be standing next to an entire cement truck of Amtho from the Mythbusters. And you generally disintegrate instead of flying in one piece. So could the weapon be wielded as Nora wields it? Probably not. But it could be constructed and used. I just don't know why you would want a giant hammer with a grenade launcher. So ladies and gentlemen, I stand up front here and teach and kind of do this like it's a classroom because that's the environment I'm used to. Currently we have, 28 minutes. So you can ask me any questions you would like, and I will do my best to answer them. I have been asked everything from how many swords could Alucard's blood be used for in the event he bled completely out? And the answer was 10,172 katanas and a single tanto. So I saw you first. If you guys want to come up and form a line, or...
Oh, no, I'll go to them.
Oh, okay, you'll go to them? She's coming to you.
Would Adam Taurus's weapon work?
Adam Taurus's weapon, in what sense? The sense that he can cut through anything?
I don't know, just the way he uses it, like shooting it out. Like, is it part shotgun? Is it?
I think it's part shotgun.
Power shots.
Carbine.
Carbine.
Okay. How would that actually work, or would he like blow himself up in the process?
No, because he has a curved sword. And if you have a curved blade that is a part of the barrel is curved. And therefore, when you try to fire it, here's what happens. The bullet goes, and then it embeds itself in the barrel and comes out the side. Which is why I always find it funny when I see Looney Tunes and they curve the barrel backwards, and I go, haha, that wouldn't work. You know what, guy way back there in the back who's so dedicated he decided to come here and sit here in the back.
Keep your head up. Where'd you go?
I try to give people in also the order that I spot them, but sometimes I'm a little crazy.
How could Ren's weapons fit in his sleeves? Because honestly, I have no idea how to get these in there.
The way his weapons fit in his sleeves apparently is the sword blade folds twice. And that is apparently how he manages to fit them in his sleeves, which I can entirely believe since his sleeves are bigger than my lab coats. And that's a feat, that you can wear those and not like trip or grab a door handle and go, oh. But yeah, that is actually kind of how I figure his weapons work. Okay, I'm not going to make you run around everywhere. Let's go ahead and get that guy and then we'll come back up front.
Would Pyrrha's weapon work?
Pyrrha's spear, I'm trying to think of the word. Winchester rifle style spear?
Yes.
Oddly enough, yes, but only if she has very minimal recoil, because on the other end of the gun is a spear blade. So it would have to be specifically designed to fire in a way that would either be on the hip or not have enough recoil so that you would fire and then go, oh God, my arm has a sword in it. Okay, now I'm going to do it in the order I spot people. I'm going to get a guy over here with the red thing in his hair. Hey. Freaky hair colors are awesome, and we should all celebrate this. That's why my poor lab coat color is basically looks like Elmo and Grover died on it.
How much force of impact does Coco's minigun have with each bullet?
Oddly enough, minimal. It is the same force of impact of a regular minigun. I actually looked. The rounds we see fired, if you pause, there's 4 little black dots between them, and I'm like, oh my God, those are actually tracers. Miniguns fire such a high number of shots that when they hit a human being, by the time that you've let off the trigger from 1 second of firing, you've fired 20 rounds into that person. 20 rounds of 5mm or 7.62 ammunition, whichever one you happen to be using, will literally tear a person in half.
They should have destroyed her favorite shop.
I agree. All right, let me get the one who's shaking her hand so fervently that I think it's gonna fly off. Don't be worried, guys. I will stand outside for like 20 minutes and let you guys come up and ask additional questions, but I'll get to you. Also, this is my YouTube channel and my email address. If you are afraid to ask your question for any reason here in front of everybody, you can send it to my email. I have cards up here for you guys as well. In the meantime, you.
It's related to the gentleman who asked about Fiaura's weapon. I was curious specifically the fact that she can it fires out the back when she throws it. Would it hit what she's aiming at with that much propulsion behind it?
Okay, I've had to go over this with bolters. No. I had to go over this with 140K bolters because they have a chemical propellant and then a rocket booster. That doesn't work. Because first off, you have no control over where the nozzles are pointed, and with her rifle barrel, no, you have no control. But in this particular case of bolters, you have no control over how the chemical propellant has warped the rocket nozzles. So more than likely, when they activate, this is what happens. Bang! Bang! Let me get over here in the purple hair. You can shout at me. It's okay.
How many swords can fit inside a penny?
I don't know, and as a scientist, I reserve the right to answer that. But I don't know because I don't have enough data. And also because I've only seen her draw her swords twice. So if I had more data, then I could give you an accurate number. On the show, it's 9. Which I think is a reference to the nine-tailed fox. I'm not entirely sure. Let me get the guy up here in the white and lime green.
So, what inspired you to take such an interest in figuring out the science behind these various characters' weapons and abilities?
I am autistic. People ask me questions and I have to know the answer. I stay up till 5 in the morning trying to figure things out that is completely inane. Like, is there actually a guy in the refrigerator who cuts off the light? Like, I actually took a mechanical engineering course to find out how refrigerators and microwaves worked. So when somebody comes up to me and goes, how much blood is in an anime character? Like, I am literally the Ren and Stimpy reaction of my eyes explode and I go, oh God. Let me get, Gina's asked for the guy in the green tag right here with the half fro, half not fro.
Half fro, half not fro. No, that's
I'm trying to find an accurate description besides black t-shirt.
That works.
But there's like 5 of you.
My question was twofold. The first is, have you watched RWBY as a series, or did you just pull the clips that you needed to do the math?
I have watched the entire series the same way I've had to watch My Little Pony. I've watched both series a total of 18 times.
Okay.
And that is for the purpose. So when I watch a series the first time, I enjoy it. The next 2 through 17 times is me sitting here with a scientific notebook going, and pausing it every 5 minutes. I have literally 3 notebooks at my house that are labeled RWBY. I have 36 that are labeled MLP.
Oh God.
I have, combined between anime and MLP, I have like literally been shipping notebooks to my grandparents to put in their barn. My grandmother called and said the barn wall's full. So
Roman Torchwick's weapon.
Do what?
Roman Torchwick's weapon, the cane.
Roman Torchwick's weapon is a simple cane gun. You can put up to a 40 caliber Magnum rifle round into a cane and it not look any different than a regular old-fashioned cane. And it will even fire accurately out to about 100 feet. After 100 feet, it's flip of the coin if it went the direction you wanted it to. Let me get the little girl in pink here because rainbows are awesome.
Thanks. This is sort of a question that might make some people shed a few tears because this is about Fiaura. So,
okay.
So about when Fiaura died, she took I believe an arrow to the heel, correct?
Yes.
Would it actually be possible to die from an arrow or shot to the heel, or would it just cause damage?
Would it be possible to die from that?
Yeah.
Yes. Oddly enough, without medical attention, almost everything that is not a bullet is carrying hundreds of thousands of pathogens and infections. If you bite your own arm hard enough to pierce the skin, you will get an infection if you don't treat it. That's from your own mouth. So taking an arrow to the ankle can kill you via infection or even bleeding out because the veins down there don't have as much force coming from the heart to go back up. There's actually more force from gravity still left over, so anything that would divert it out of the veins would actually cause it to continue to bleed for a very, very long time. Foot wounds are one of the most common infections as well because we get athlete's foot. And you will notice a lot of times if you don't take care of your feet, you see like white skin peeling off. If that doesn't get like taken care of and peeled off and you get a wound down there, it will get infected and you will have a miserable time for the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Additionally, reference to mythology.
Okay, I haven't got people over here very much, so first let me get orange hair person. I have really creative descriptions.
Would Neo's weapon work at all, like her umbrella, sword, gun thing?
If her gun was a .22 caliber rifle, and her umbrella had literal fans the size of computer fans turning at 600,000 RPMs a second, or 6,000 RPM, yes, she could actually fly and stab people with it, and there would be enough room for a .22 caliber rifle. But 22 caliber rifles are really crappy at killing people.
That's why you put that up.
Okay, let me get down the horns. I'm sorry, Satan, my contract is not up yet. You can't have my soul. But I will take your question.
Could Neptune or Sun's weapon possibly function?
So Neptune, I have not enough data. Like, that's literally the point I'm at. I'm like, I don't know. There's not enough, like, animation and stuff for me to use. Sun's weapon. Assuming that he's actually using it like a musket, yes. You could totally use a musket like a staff. Matter of fact, Japanese samurai would actually have elaborate staffs built with muskets in them.
What?
To, like, beat you down unconscious if they wanted you alive, and if they didn't want you alive, they just shoot you. So yes, Sun's weapon works. It actually works very well. It even has the innate ability that you could close it up and you have the stock to compensate for recoil.
How about the shotgun mode?
Oh, the gunchucks? No. Gunchucks, no. No. Let me be clear. A nunchuck at most will hold 1 8-gauge shotgun shell. 2 if you go up to 20 gauge. That includes space for the barrel. That's not enough. So gunchuck mode, no. But when it's in the full long staff and he's hitting people with it and then shoots somebody, yeah, that works. Okay, God, I have more hands than I started with. You know what? Just because you have red hair doesn't mean I'm going to take his question. So I'm going to take the guy in the back.
So, going back to Roman's cane, what about the hook shot part on the other end? How would that fit in there with the gun part?
So I just explained that gun barrels that are curved don't work.
No, like the other, like how he shoots the handle out of his cane as like.
Oh, as the grappling hook?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually built grappling hooks that big, and they work.
My question was how would he fit that in there with the gun barrel?
I don't know. As far as I can tell, the closest thing he could have done is again, we go back to graphene. The wire's made out of graphene, and therefore actually takes up very little space and is strong enough to lift a person. However, using it as a grappling hook is a 50-50 shot. He's actually going to hook something since it only has 1 hook. Most grappling hooks, you actually have a quad hook on them for a reason, and that is so that there are at least 2 hooks. That gives you a 100% chance of catching something. And more importantly, if 1 hook fails at any time, the other hook will catch you. So he has about a 1 in 4 chance of doing this and not falling from the 10th story. You in the red.
And like an axe on one end and then the barrel on the other end, like just how unsafe that's gotta be.
Actually, oddly enough, if he's making sure that every time he fires it to put the stock between the 2 axe blades on his shoulder, it's perfectly safe. But, this is a big but. If at any time during combat he accidentally doesn't quite line the stock up correctly and goes, huh, well, sir, you don't have an arm. Do what? No. Just no. Okay, because you have been the most dedicated person here to keep raising his hand, you up front.
Flaming's why.
Do what?
Flaming's why.
The dog? See, normally I have thinking grenades at My Little Pony panels, and that's one of those questions where I would literally just pull the pin and click it and go, I'm out. No. I do not want to fire a dog out of a cannon to find out. I'm not cruel to animals on purpose. Internal review boards would find me and put me at the stake.
What if you wanted to?
If I want it... Okay, I have to put this disclaimer up. Do not fire dogs out of cannons. It's bad. But, if you gave the dog... I'm not trying it with boxes. Boxes does not deserve that. If you put, just like a person in a cannon being fired out of a cannon, if you put the dog into a cannon, surrounded them in a flame retardant vest, and then covered the vest in napalm, it could technically work. I don't actually want to test it to figure it out.
Oh, God.
And I don't want to build the analog to do it either, because then one of my stuffed plushies that was given to me by one of my fans would be the experimental tool. And that poor plushie would not survive. So I'm going to get girl in the back and then girl in the pink hair. I am making her get her exercise. Everybody give her a hand.
Would Crow's weapon work?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
We have multi-segmented blades in real life that work. You can even like dictate a setting to tell it how far out you want it to go. So since Crow doesn't have a gun in his,
It's also a gun.
or I've only seen it used like twice, so I don't really count it as a gun. But that actually would work. If you had a multi-segmented blade that actually brought itself out and extended and became a scythe, it's no different than putting leaves on a table. Just the difference here is that it's metal and that you have to make sure that it lines up perfectly. If it has any imperfections in the metal during its construction process, it will have a catastrophic failure at some point. Which is why I'm kind of expecting Crow's bad luck to kick in and his weapon shatter on him and you go, well, big hair. I could ask way too many questions.
So, piggybacking off of Flaming's wife is... Do you think Professor Oobleck's weapon is feasible?
So first off, if his weapon is feasible and works, he drinks napalm for breakfast. Which, oddly enough about biology, explains a lot. Because assuming that the napalm is not on fire, it would deliver a massive shot of caffeine, but it would kill you. As far as his weapon working in the way it does, I don't have enough data. I have seen gel-style flamethrowers used to launch fireballs. Like, that actually can be done. If you just keep like bursting the trigger on and off at certain intervals, it will actually fire a fireball. But I have no idea if his weapon would actually work in real life. 10-minute warning, got it. Okay, fine. Since like 4 of you are pointing at the poor man in the Jurassic Park shirt. I love you. She wants to kill me.
Alright, so my question was, in all the clips we have Ruby running up the cliff with a bird, right? Do you know the mass of it and how it would affect how fast you can actually run up the cliff?
I know the mass. It's actually on the wiki. It literally just told me how much it weighed. And I'm like, oh, you can tell me in kilograms. I love you. Imperial system is bad for science. Don't use it. Okay, well, bloody hell. Let me get Ninja Guy.
How long did it take you to get to where you are where you can answer all these questions, knowledge-wise? Because it's amazing.
I have been in college for 7 years. Before that, in high school, I took 16 college credit courses my senior and junior years combined.
Wow.
So when I actually do all of the math, I probably have 9 to 10 years of research experience. And a lot of it, I will fully admit, sometimes is me going, here's a research question. Well, here's how far I get. Okay, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Where are you going? I'm going to go learn the fastest amount of X science right now. University of Delaware, I know almost every single professor because they just they're at the point where they just let me come into their class and sit. Because they look at me and go, I know you're here to do something crazy, so go sit down. And Rutgers is not much different between their mechanical engineering and their physics department. Like, I actually came in and said, hi, I need to know what quarks do and how they react to getting hit by dynamite. And the professor goes, okay. I'm going to get Adventure Time here because she's adorable.
In the scene where you did with Nora's, the guy with the trumpet.
Flint.
Thank you.
Flint's cool.
Flint, can that be done?
Can a trumpet physically cause damage?
No.
That much compression.
That much compression with the air and blowing it out like that.
So I'm going to answer probably, because the human voice can do a lot of things, such as break glass. I have first-hand experience with that from my own voice. I won't get into that story because that's not a PG story. This is PG panel. 18 plus panel later tonight. But yes, you could amplify the trumpet enough through various, I don't know if you could do it with it as a person, but through various speakers and stuff, you could amplify it enough to kill the guys in the front row if you really wanted to. I love you, you're the death zone. Alright, so I'm gonna get Lumberjack and then Death Zone guy.
So this may come as one of those don't have enough data, but I want to talk about Velvet for a second. Assuming that light 3D printing could even be feasible in this world, it seemed to me that there was some kind of, I guess, damage drop-off from her copies. Do you, would you have enough data to...
So actually, I have more than enough data because I had to go study light.
That's terrifying.
So, a couple of things that you guys probably don't know about light. First off, we have made a gold bar using light become invisible.
What?
Second, we have used strictly light particles to kill a mouse. You can make light in such a way that it will become hard enough and dense enough to have an actual enough mass to cause physical damage. As a matter of fact, the particle accelerator in Greenwich, England last year used light, just light, to make an oxygen molecule.
Whoa.
Although that required like 300 megawatts of electricity.
But,
But we can do it. So we know it can happen, so therefore we're trying to figure out a way how to make it where, yes, you can have your lightsaber. Guy on the front row, and then I think I'm almost out of time. Can we turn on the laptop?
Can Mercury's gun shoes work at all?
Can you put guns on your legs and fire them? Is that what you're asking me?
No, so can it work without...
Oh, you mean all the swirling vortex of wine?
Yeah, it just not break
As far as putting guns on your feet and on your legs and feet and firing them, if you lay on your back and fire them that way, yes, because your hip is the strongest muscle in your body and will absorb the recoil. If you fire them this way, you will just snap your knee. And I'll laugh.
But wait, his legs are prosthetic.
Yeah, his legs are prosthetic. That's wonderful. I have no idea what his cybernetic legs are capable of withstanding. I'm saying that his legs were human. But since we don't have Shadowrun style cyber arms and cyber legs, I can say this. I don't know. Let me get guy over here in the Persona 5 shirt.
You're nice.
You're nice.
Can you just project, please?
Can Cinder's dual weapon work?
Can Cinder's dual weapon?
Her bow and arrow with her twin swords?
Her bow and arrow with her twin swords?
Yeah.
Yes. Longsword blades can bend up to 45 degrees, which is enough to be used as a bow. So if you could physically have the strength to actually bend the metal without snapping it, you could use it as a bow. Which is awkward to have to actually realize that that can happen. Cinder, I hate you even more now. For other reasons. Can lady in the pink hair yell at me?
So, how is it possible for you to get hurt by an arrow, but a man take 210 newtons of force to the nuts?
I don't know.
Her aura has been deleted. Aura effectively acts, as John said in like one of the first episodes, your aura acts as a force field.
Which,
If
since...
it was still activated, Penny, has been depleted.
Which, by the way, aura is hard light as far as I can tell. So the same stuff that Velvet is using to slice mechs in half is the same stuff that's protecting them. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time. Like to the minute.